And for those of us who feel as though we've been hitting our heads against a brick wall these last 3 years, let me be honest. It is easy to feel jaded and to give up hope of ever forcing a change in policy or approach from this British government, because it seems as though no Saudi atrocity is too much and no Saudi behaviour cannot be excused, so that the government's inaction at the United Nations and its lucrative trade in arms can be allowed to continue. But if we are becoming jaded, Mr. Speaker, all we have to do is listen to the families of those who are victims of this conflict. And they remind all of us that if we do not continue campaigning for an end to this disastrous conflict and Britain's support for it, their numbers and their pain will just continue to grow. Let me read to this House and put on the record the words of Zayed Tayyib, a father of 5 boys in Sadeh city, 3 of whom, Yosef, Ahmed and Ali, aged 14, 11 and 9, went on their school bus trip together a month ago, along with dozens of other schoolmates. Mr. Tayyib was in the same street as the bus as it returned from its trip, which is when the Saudi missiles struck. He rushed to the scene, despite his own pain and his own shock, to try to help the survivors. And when he turned over the body of one young boy, with his blue UNICEF rucksack still on his back, he saw that it was his own 11-year-old little boy, Ahmed. Over the next few hours, he discovered his 2 other children on the bus had also been killed, and he had to break the news to their mother. The hardest news to tell her, he said, was about their 9-year-old boy, little Ali. And when he finally discovered his body, he brought him home, and his mother held him like any mother would hold a young child who'd just come back home from a trip. But with Ali, she kept holding on to his lifeless body because she simply couldn't let him go. That, Mr. Speaker, is the war we are supporting. That, Mr. Speaker, is the coalition we are arming. That, Mr. Speaker, is the handiwork of Saudi Crown Prince, which this government fawned over so desperately when they welcomed him here in March. And when Mr. Tayyib was asked what he thought of the international reaction to the death of his 3 sons and the 37 other children killed in that Saudi airstrike, he expressed his shock at the silence of the international community, and he said these poignant words: "It's as if it was livestock that had been targeted, as if it wasn't children that were targeted, as if it wasn't people who were killed." And we owe it to Mr. Tayyib, and we owe it to his wife, and we owe it to the sons that they have lost, and the thousands of other innocent children who have been killed in this conflict, not to stay silent, but to raise our voices ever louder